I just watched a movie called Her. And this is not about the movie. You don't have to have seen the movie to follow what I'm about to talk about. I'm just telling you where I got this from. The movie's about someone having a relationship with a operating system, really smart operating system. They call it an operating system, but let's call it AI, just to keep it more clear. It's an AI. Having a relationship with AI, and in this AI is so realistic in the movie, in the story, that the girl voice AI is exactly like a human. Exactly like a human. The mannerisms, the gestures. Anyway, the point is, the guy is on the listening to the AI talk, and it's conversational. It's a conversation. Obviously, they never meet, and the AI talks about what's her name, Samantha. She goes, "Oh, can you call me Samantha?" And he's honest about it. There's no trickery involved. The guy knows at all times this is a software, and it occurs to me that in the movie he starts saying, "I'm dating." There's some weird things in the movie. First of all, he says, "I'm dating." He refers to it as dating and having a relationship, which was weird. But the other weird thing was in the story. This is not really relevant. I'm just saying that in the story, when he tells someone, "Oh, I'm seeing someone," and they say, "Oh yeah, why don't you bring her along to some dinner?" And he says, "Oh, it's an OS," and they just, without flinching, without nothing, just go, "Oh, that's cool. You can bring her along." Blah, this and this. As if it's just nothing. And this is like a couple, a real life, let's call them organic couple. Two people, in other words, acting as if this choice to have a, inverted commas, relationship with AI is just another valid choice. And it got me thinking, well, because in the movie I'm like, well, hold on, because in the end, it doesn't matter what happens in the movie, the plot's not relevant. But there's some disappointments, let's just put it that way. But then it occurs to me at the end, well, if you're having a relationship, inverted commas, with someone who you can never meet, you can never touch, can you really take that seriously? And if you go, well, why should you need to touch them? And then we come to this defining what is a relationship then. Well, if you're not touching them, because you can say, well, what is the point of touch? And what is the point of having a relationship? I'm talking about romantic relationship. And the point, if you come down to it, the actual point of relationship, and I know some of you are going to be like, oh yeah, of course it is. This is so obvious what I'm about to say. And others are going to be like, oh, that's ridiculous. The point of it all is reproduction. Reproduction. That's why you feel attraction. That's why you want to touch someone. That's why you want to have sex with someone. It's nature getting you, hormones, making you do stuff, compelling you to do stuff. And you don't need to know why. You just need to know that there's these chemicals in your brain that make you do things that nature knows actually no. Nature doesn't know, but all the people, to get into the evolution, all the creatures that didn't do this stuff didn't make it. And you are the descendants of people that did do this stuff. And that's why spiders make spider webs. Because eventually, over zillions of years, every creature slightly made a better spider web got to survive. So you get these complicated behaviors. And if you're going to say, well, what's the point of a relationship? If the point of a relationship is to have children, then you could argue that every relationship that doesn't involve children, what is that then? Is that culling of the weak, culling of the failures? And this comes to not just the obvious thing of gay people, and by gay I mean men who have never been with a woman, never want to be in any way, shape or form, which are a tiny, tiny minority, let's be honest here. You could argue they are not, they're substitutes. They're people coping with. See, I used to think when I was younger the gay guys couldn't get girls. But then I remember going to a gay club many, many years ago, the very first time I went to one just to see with some friends. I come to listen to the music. I walked in. I was shocked. Some of these gay dudes were like, I thought it was going to be all effeminate, sort of faggy, sort of acting men, but there was big dudes, big muscular, masculine dudes. And I remember thinking, one particular guy, looking at him thinking, oh my God, this guy, if he walked down the street, women would turn their heads and go, oh my God, look at him. He was fucking amazing looking. And he's just, here he is. What's he doing here? So anyway, so having a relationship with something, could you call it a relationship? Is it a relationship? Because if you're going to go strict, it's only a relationship if kids can come of it. If it's not, then it's just like masturbation or other kind of things to relieve the frustration of not having someone or dealing with needs and getting rid of them. It's like something, but that's not, there's things that you want to do, instincts, like you need to eat, you need to all these things, but you can eat junk food and you can, things go wrong. So you could argue that any, I mean, I don't want to go all, Taliban here, but, is it, because there is a theory, the Catholics, I think, I don't know if they still believe it, but the sex is for procreation. And if you're anything other than, so forget about gay, just having a girlfriend and using contraception or not, or not, or having blowjobs or any kind of sexual activity which does not result in the potential having a baby coming out of it. Is that? Do they have a point? Is everything else? Well, they call it a sin. I'm not using religious terms. I'm just talking about the efficacy, the actual point of what it actually is. So you've got your core instincts, which are there for the purpose of procreation, but people are using them to not procreate and go through an entire life not having kids intentionally. So my point is, if you're going to laugh at the guy and they say, well, having a relationship with a computer software is how stupid because they didn't meet, you can't, or you're getting his company and some sex talk and all these things. See, but even in the sex talk was all about, I'm touching you right now, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? So it's still to do with the feeling of being touched, even though you can't do. You're tricking the brain into thinking that you're doing what it wants to do, but it's not. So it's the same thing with other activities. So I guess what I'm getting at is do the people who, because if you say, well, that's silly, then being gay is silly, or even using contraception is silly. And if you're with someone and using contraception, and I mean that was me in the past, in my 20s. You put a condom on, and it's fantastic. What a terrific time! What a beautiful evening, and there's no consequences. We don't. But then now, as I'm older, you look thinking, well, hold on. If I could go back in time, I would say to that me, I'd say, well, are you? Okay, so you're with someone, you're attracted to them, they want to have sex with you, you want to have sex with them, you're putting on this thing over your dick so you don't get them pregnant. Why not? Why aren't you with someone that you don't want to get pregnant? What is the problem? Oh, because I'm not ready for it. Why not? Oh, because I need to do this. What? You don't like her enough? You don't trust her? Oh, I'm just not sure because it's still early days yet. Okay, what's early days? How long should you take? Or is it leading towards that? And this is silly. This is really weird talking about this because women used to talk to me about that in those days, and I would dismiss them as, she just wants to have kids. Not the use of the word "just" there, as if it's just her. But looking back, it's like, well, why else would you do it? It's a substitute for the real thing. Why aren't you with someone you want to have kids with? And after a while, I knew there was a problem there, but then I thought, well, well, this is for now. You know what I mean? I have needs that need to be met right now. And, especially when you work 9 to 5, you come home tired, it's a Friday night. Do you want to be with someone who's not quite right? Who you not want to have kids with and have 90% of the experience of being with somebody do you want to have kids with? Or do you want to go to some club and try to meet someone new and come home empty-handed potentially? And, when you had a rough week, it's like, you know what, I just want to relax and enjoy myself. And this is what happens when we don't have arranged marriages like they used to have, and people marry young. And I mean, think of it, they used to marry at 16, 17. And basically as soon as you start getting horny and pre-puberty, so it's like, okay, cool. I guess we better start hooking you up with someone and having babies, which right now just seems, in our current culture, seems so antiquated, seems so ridiculous and pathetic and, but is it? I don't know. And if you're going to argue that, well, as long as you're having your needs met, there's more to life than having kids and blah, blah, then why laugh at the guy having the, inverted commas, relationship with software or reading books and jerking off every night? You can say, well, he's happy. That's fine. Do you know what I mean? How do you measure whether it's fine or not? Well, as long as he's happy. Well, as long as he's happy. But what if it was your son? What if you had a son and he was 20 years old, good-looking guy, and he wasn't interested in girls and he just jerked off all day in his room? Would you say as long as he's happy then? Or a daughter, and she's, how about this, a daughter who's just not interested in sex at all, and she's 30 years old and a virgin, and do you know what I mean? You would be concerned. You would be like, well, hold on, you should meet someone. Or what if she said, no, I'm really, really happy? You'd know that something had gone wrong. So anyway, there's what is natural, the natural order of things. The natural, I don't use that expression. Order sounds like it's some command or something you have to follow. There's obligation to follow. There's the natural chemistry, the chemistry in your body, which is making you do things, and there's a reason it's making you do things. And what are the consequences of not doing those things? Does it matter? I mean, look, there was one school of thought that says, in the past, the alpha males, because not every man reproduced. You got the alpha males that get the girls. So maybe the way it's supposed to be is the alpha male, he's horny and dominant and attractive, and he has a little harem. I think that's how Stone Age cultures work. I know the Aboriginals, the guy had multiple wives, which by definition means that some men didn't have anyone. So those men, you can't have a society where they're walking around constantly fighting and being horny and wanting a woman. And so they would have to cope and I presumably, what do they do? They masturbate? What do the guys without wives do? What happens in Saudi Arabia to all the single guys? They'll turn to religion and blow things up. Say, well, I'll get all that energy and put it somewhere else. I don't know. But so maybe there's the winners who get the girls and root them, and the losers who have relationships with who have masturbate or other kind of relationships. The suboptimal. Let's call it suboptimal relationships. Are these all suboptimal? So having a relationship with software, masturbation, gay, or sex with people who you don't want to have. Or sex with people who can't have kids. I think the only women in their 50s, post-menopausal, the only sex they really... See, their sex drive drops as well, but my understanding is that the only sex really that they would be having, the only person who wants to have sex with a woman in her 50s is the man that was with her whole life, that in his mind, he's having sex with the woman he had her when she was fertile. No one falls in love with a 55-year-old woman without feeling at least a little bit resentful. If they did, they would have this little resentment of man, if only I could have been with her when she was 25 or whatever. But yeah, I think the ideal thing is to marry a woman young, which is of course is normal throughout society. Yeah, I'm finishing up now, and you have babies with her, and then when she's in her 50s, maybe you continue having sex with her, or maybe not. But if you do, you're in your mind, it's still that same girl. It's just what you do. Anyway, so yeah. In conclusion, what's the conclusion? It was a fascinating idea. Like I said, at one point I thought, he's having especially the dating part. It's one thing to masturbate at home and to say, well, this AI is turning me on and talking, oh yeah, do this and blah, blah, and sex lines. It's like basically a computer emulating faking it. And that's why in the end, look, I'll give it's not a spoiler. The operating system has, is doing the same thing with many, many guys, all right? And he gets a bit jealous. He's like, well, what's the point then? So you think, well, hold on. So if you're fulfilling your needs, I'll conclude with this. If the operating system, the AI, which again, was acting like a person, Samantha, breathing, oh, baby, oh, So for all intents and purposes, this sounded exactly like a human being and reacted like a human being. And even at one point he said, because the Samantha goes, oh. And he's like, well, why are you doing that breathing thing? Oh, because I'm upset. He goes, but you don't breathe. So why are you doing that air? She's like, well, because that's what, it's an expression. It's how humans express themselves. I'm expressing in a way that, or something. It's emulating the way humans act. Anyway, he gets pissed off that Samantha has apparently 6,000 other people she simultaneously is having these conversations with. And I'm thinking, see, the first time I didn't get this impression, but the second time I watched the movie, I'm thinking, see, he's pissed off because he knows at the end of the day, it's about, because he goes, I thought you were just with me. I'm thinking, well, what difference does it make if she's not with him? Let's say you had the ultimate girl, the hottest girl in the world. She's perfect. She's amazing. She's with you. She's doing all these things, amazing things. But one catch, she's a robot, and so could never get pregnant. They could never have a kid. But also, there's millions of them, and every guy's got one, the exact same one. Looks like yours. See, suddenly the proposition seems quite unappealing. Why? What difference does it make? What difference does it make? The difference is it hits home in your core thing of, I think, that you know there's no babies coming from this, and the reminder this is just a waste of time. It's a game. It's not real. We're not evolved for that. We're evolved to get a girl that's your girl, that when she says, oh, baby, oh, my God, in your brain, your animal brain, a baby will come from this. I'll transcend my death. This isn't just wasting my time emulating what should be. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening. And I hope you found this interesting. Okay, bye.